And if you want to sort of real California treat, Starhawks, the fifth sacred thing, that has the sort of, it has the prototypical dichotomy between a utopian, countercultural Northern California and an evil, religiously fundamentalist and money-obsessed Southern California. But it is actually, so I don't think it's a great, but it has actually some, I think, interesting thinking about what it would take to sustain that kind of utopia against a militaristic and fundamentalist kind of regime. So that's certainly one that's very sort of engaging with a California space and trying to think Callum Buck's ecotopia in a different register. If you want just good fun and sort of more dystopia, I mean, I always like Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash. Which is sort of a wild romp, and there's sort of forays into deep Babylonian history that you might want to skim through somewhat quickly. But there are interesting riffs because in his vision of the future, Southern California is not, I mean, there is no public land anymore, and there's no government-owned land. So there's certain areas that are called Fed land, and that's where sort of the former federal institutions are located, and everything else is franchises of either corporations or the mafia, which are actually indistinguishable in this future. And so you sort of, the novel starts with a courier who has to, on a skateboard, go from one of these franchises to the other, and what you do to get into, the Greater Hong Kong franchise, and McDonald's is sort of its own national franchise. So it's thinking through what the corporatization of land and the corporatization of state functions would look like. And then there's another part of it that's really interesting, which is that there's this huge floating city called the Raft that sort of goes around the world, picks up refugees, and then at a certain moment of its multi-year cycle will hit the California coast, where the refugees will then jump off with far-reaching consequences. So it's a sort of half tongue-in-cheek and half dystopian reflection on global refugees and on economic inequality that I think is quite fun and interesting.
It sounds like it's related to what is public space in the Occupy movement.
In some ways, yeah. He doesn't envision anything like
Occupy,
but
thank you.
Good.